lower power prices, more jobs, lower emissions. That's what the Powering Australia plan that an Albanese Labor government will deliver for Australians. That's what it will do. Lower power prices, more jobs, lower emissions. Over the last 8 years, Australia has been missing out on the jobs opportunity that is the world's climate emergency. Australians are paying more for electricity than they should be because this government keeps missing the opportunities. And because of Scott Morrison and the Liberal Party, our emissions aren't coming down fast enough to protect our planet for future generations. It'll be up to an Albanese Labor government to fix it, and fix it we will. As Anthony said, we are releasing the most comprehensive modelling that any opposition has ever commissioned and released to support a policy. This modelling has been conducted by Reputex, Australia's leading energy economists, commissioned by the federal government, the current federal government, commissioned by many of Australia's biggest companies to advise them. This work has been independently conducted and explains in detail the implications of Labor's policies for the Australian economy and the positive economic benefit that they have. The federal government released a fortune cookie when they released their policy, scribbled on the back of a coaster. We, as the alternative government, are releasing a comprehensive plan supported by comprehensive evidence. Anthony ran through the figures, but they're important enough to repeat. 604,000 jobs created. Energy bills, which will be $275 for the average house, lower in 2025 than today, and $378 lower by 2035. 5 out of the 6 jobs created in Australia's regions, the regions that have powered Australia for so long, the Hunter Valley, Central Queensland, the Pilbara, the Latrobe Valley, they will be the same areas that will power Australia into the future. That's why the regions are the big winners under Labor's plan. And the modelling shows that Labor's policy will reduce emissions by 43% by 2030, and Australia's electricity market will be 82% renewable under the policies of an Albanese Labor government. 43% will be Australia's new target, communicated to the COP by the Albanese Labor government. It isn't an ambition, it isn't an aspiration, it is the result of our policies, not wished into being by assumptions that somehow technology will magically appear, the concrete result of policy, and that will be communicated to the COP. It is a target with teeth. And whereas the Morrison government was embarrassed at Glasgow and they embarrassed Australia, we'll be proud of our policies, and an Albanese Labor government will bid to host COP29 in 2024 in Australia, and we will be inviting our Pacific Island friends and neighbours to join us in hosting it if they wish. Also, as Climate Change Minister in Anthony's government, I'll be reporting annually to Parliament on progress in a way similar to the government's reports on Indigenous disadvantage. We want to be held to account for progress. We want the Parliament to be focusing on how well we are doing as a country. And today, we're announcing further comprehensive policies, building on our Rewiring the Nation, electric vehicle tax cut, community batteries, new energy apprentices. As Anthony said, the Australian public service will be net zero by 2030. 75% of new vehicle purchases in the Commonwealth fleet will be EVs by 2025. We'll introduce real-world testing of motor vehicles emissions to give Australians the informed choice they need. They want to reduce their emissions through their transport, and they want real choices and real information, and we'll fund real-world testing. We'll fund 85 solar banks across Australia to open up the renewable energy revolution to those who can't afford solar or who are renters or are in strata where they can't get solar panels. These people deserve the reduced prices that come with having solar energy, and our solar bank policy will complement our community battery policy as well. And then turning to the safeguards mechanism. Now, as you know, the Abbott government told the Australian people they would introduce the safeguards mechanism to ensure that carbon pollution by the biggest emitters wouldn't go up. It isn't working. Emissions have gone up from these facilities by 7% since it was introduced. The Business Council of Australia has said with an enhanced safeguard mechanism, we can send clear signals to the market, drive investment and deliver more jobs in stronger regions. The Business Council's right. The AIG has called for the same reform. So an Albanese Labor government will ask the Clean Energy Regulator to gradually reduce the emission baselines for entities currently covered by the safeguards mechanism to be consistent with net zero. We will require the Clean Energy Regulator to ensure that any emissions-intensive trade-exposed facility will face a carbon constraint no more onerous than their international competitors. That has been factored into the modelling. It's that instruction to the Clean Energy Regulator is factored into the emissions reductions we achieve. Now, the Liberals and Nationals will say all sorts of things about the safeguard mechanism. All sorts of scare campaigns will be waged, but the government will have some explaining to do. Why does this Liberal National government think they know more about business than business knows about business? Why does the Morrison government think they know more about business than the Business Council? Why does the Morrison government think they know more about industry than the Australian Industry Group? We want to work with industry. We want to work with business on this massive economic opportunity. We want to be partners with business. Anthony as Prime Minister, me as Climate Change Minister want to be equal partners with Australia's business in this massive economic transformation. The Morrison government thinks business is wrong. We'll be business's partners. The Morrison government is business's enemy. By rejecting the recommendations of the Business Council and the AIG, Scott Morrison and Angus Taylor are working against the interest of the Australian economy and Australian business. In addition, as Anthony said, we're announcing 2 initiatives to support industry, particularly with a focus on regions, the Powering the Regions Fund and the allocation under the National Reconstruction Fund for decarbonising existing industry in the regions, for development of new energy industries, including green hydrogen, and workforce development and skills development. So 8 years of denial and delay is 8 years too many. 8 years of policy chop and change has to end. It's time for a federal government that understands that the world's climate emergency is Australia's jobs opportunity. The federal government that will understand that will be the Anthony Albanese Labor government.